Hi everybody, I decided I couldn't let you have all the fun today drawing those famous buildings or painting those famous buildings, so I'm going to have a go as well. I'm going to use this piece of paper and a pencil to start with. I don't have any paints at the moment, so I'm using my colouring pencils, but I think later on today I'll probably do one with just pencils with a bit more shading in there. We'll see if I've got time. As always, I start off drawing anything. If I'm looking at something, I've got it in front of me. Ta-da! That's the one I'm doing, the Sydney Opera House, because I really, really like the shapes. And I'm going to start off by drawing the big shapes, just in pencil, really, really lightly. Now, here's what a bad one looks like. Get rid of my nice piece of paper. Some people still, when they're drawing, pressing really, really hard with their pencil and drawing their lines. We've got to make sure that we do it incredibly lightly to start with, because if we make a mistake, we've got our eraser that we can get rid of those lines. So, big shapes to start with, and I'm looking at this one that goes across the bottom. Try and break up the paper in my brain, like, oh, how much of the paper does that take up and that take up? And it's quite tricky to do. Practice makes perfect. So really, really lightly sketching a line across here, and then another one on top, and that's like the dark wall. So when I get my colouring pencils out, that line's going to be quite thick and quite heavy. And then I've got another odd looking shape before we get the big sail sort of shapes in. So it gives something like this, comes across, then it goes up, and I'm looking all the time at my piece of paper and at the picture that's just over there. All the way across this bit, and then it goes up a bit over here, it's a bit wobbly, and it goes across here, down here, across here, and then it comes back down there. Now I can see already this bit's too high up compared to this side, which means this is the part I need to change. Which is why it's very lucky that I was pressing lightly. This bit doesn't need to come up as much. And it comes down a bit here actually, and then down a bit again, then across, and then down. That's better. Just very, very light at the moment, getting those main shapes in. And now I can start putting the sail shapes in. I'm going to start with the one that's at the front. It goes up like this. And then I'm going to go inside the curve, because that's always easier, around like this. Can you see how lightly I'm holding my pencil? I'm not right at the end. Here like this. And then it comes down a bit steeper over here. And then we've got a big one coming up. Big sweeping arc up here, and that one comes down to the same point actually, the same point down here. Great. I'm going to carry on doing this. I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to do a bit more. You can come back and see what I've got up to. Right, so you can see now I've done all of the big shapes. And I've even started to put in some of the details. So I was looking really, really closely at the picture and put in some of the details. I've done a lot of rubbing out. You can see all the bits from my eraser all over the place, because there was a large section here I wasn't very happy about, and I had to do quite a lot of rubbing out to get these arches right. It's absolutely fine. It'd be very strange if I did a sketch or a picture or a painting without making a mistake. Can't do everything perfect first time. Need to keep trying until I get it right. So if you have a look now, that's what I'm trying to draw, and this is what I've done so far. Once I'm really, really happy with the detail, then I'm going to pick up my colours and have a go. But right now, I've got to do some windows down here, and then I've got to do a couple more bits of detail here and there, just to get all of those lines in. So I'm going to carry on with that. But so far, I've been going for a long, long time, and I've just got the outline. If I get the outline, then everything else becomes a little bit easier. Right, I've put my windows in. I haven't put all of the details in, but I am an artist, so really, it's up to me what it looks like. Now, I'm going to choose some colours that I think appear in this picture. I'm going to show you the picture again in a minute. There's lots of browns, lots of yellows. So I'm going to get a selection of those. I'm really, really lucky because I got this set of pencils for Christmas last year. And so I can use those all right. I'm going to concentrate on this part and worry about the water later. Any other colours that I think I might need? Quite a dark colour, maybe a very dark brown. We will see. But I think that will probably do. Now, I'm not going to make it look exactly like this. If we look at some of those other artists from earlier, they didn't make it look exactly like it. I'm going to look for the main areas of colour. I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to start off with this nice bright gold colour for the brightest areas that I can see are lit up. And I'm going to switch to my shading grip. And I'm just going to shade in really nicely. Now I am going to end up with some pencil lines on my piece of paper. I can use my eraser if I've been careful with my pencil, and I'll be able to get rid of some of them. Now I'm not pressing very hard, I'm just shading. Now it changes colour down here and it gets a bit darker, so I'm not going to colour that one in quite so much. I'm going to use that later. And it's a bit more yellowy over here. So you can see I've got a darker yellow section here. It gets a little bit lighter as it comes over here. Like that. And then there are more dark yellow bits around this area. I don't have to be super neat with my shading at this point, because I can smudge these a little bit and get my eraser and start taking away that pencil line, but not yet. Don't want to do that yet. It's there for a very good reason. Get a little bit more. Great. I'm going to look for other areas that use this colour as well. Got a really light section here, so super light shading here. It's a really bright bit on this arch. Super light shading. Comes down here and it gets darker, so I'm going to leave that bit for now. And then as we come up, get rid of my eraser marks. As we come up here, it does get a little bit darker. So I'm not pressing very heavily, I'm just going over the same bit again and again and again to create those darker shades of the same colour. A little bit more down this side. And you know, if you want to, you can do a little bit of smudging. If you've got dirty hands, or you started with a really dark colour first, you're going to put big smudgy fingerprints all over everything. So do try to avoid doing that. Now, this colour does appear in other places as well. We've got a little bit inside here, but I'm not going to do much, just a little splash. A little splash back here. We're probably not going to see that colour because we'll go over it later in a different one. A little splash over here and a splash on this one. And I'll come back and I'll do the fine details of the bright windows a bit later on. Okay, then I'm going to switch colours to my next darkest colour. And this one appears quite a lot. I'm going to use this one now. You can come back and see what I've done later. Okay, two different colours of yellow so far. And what I've just done here is I've added this brown over the top. So I've actually layered the colours. So I've got one yellow and then the brown on top. I'll show you how it changes this one, because this is a similar colour down here when I'm looking at the picture. I'm just very lightly over the top of this one. I'm going to put this brown very lightly, just going over it and over it and over it. Nice smooth action. Just lightly, I'm not pressing hard at all, but you can see it's getting a little bit darker. Now I don't want to do it everywhere, because there are some parts of this that are definitely that yellowy colour. But just by layering up these colours, nice and smoothly, you start to see a bit more shadow, and that picture starts looking a bit more 3D. Just like this. In fact, a part of this needs to be a little bit lighter. So I can get my eraser and make this section a little bit lighter. Like that. Now I'm going to show you again, like this bit around here needs to be a little tiny bit darker, so I use that brown to overlay, just like that. Nice, get those layers of colour. And then, ooh, which other part needs this sort of colour? I mean, these stripes in here do as well. They are stripes. Remember, it's not going to be exactly like the picture, but I'm getting it as close as I can to it. A little bit more in here. And you can see it's starting to come together a little bit. Now, I think I need more of like a grey brown like this one to do lots of the other parts. This bit here needs a little bit of that brown. Remember, I can smudge it with my finger a little bit later on to make it a bit smoother. And this bit here. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Right, here's my next step. So I've concentrated on this part because this is the bit I'm really interested in. And I've layered colours, I've used some greys, I've used some browns, I've used a tiny bit of black, but you never want to use too much because it can overtake everything else. Now the rest of it, I'm not going to pay too much attention to. It's going to be a bit more loose with my shading. Certainly the water is only going to be a little splash of blue here and there because I really want everybody to look at this part of my picture. Remember, you are the artist, so you decide. Yours doesn't have to look anything like mine. You can use paint, you can use chalk, you can use pastel, you can use pencil, you can use collage. It's entirely up to you. You are the artist, you decide. If you look at the picture and think, yeah, I'm happy with that, brilliant. That's what really counts. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more detail to this section, put my big dark line in, and then finish off my picture. Okay, I've finished the main shapes and the main colours of my building. And now I'm just going to work on the sky with a nice pink tinge. Little touches, I'm not going to colour the whole thing in. It'll take way too long. And then down here, little splashes of orange, little splashes of blue. And then my picture will be finished. Right, my picture is almost finished. The only thing I'm going to do now is where I've got pencil lines, where I don't really want to see pencil lines, I'm going to rub them out. So basically around this section here. And this section here where the colours are light and I don't want to see those pencil lines, I'm going to carefully rub those out. It doesn't look exactly like the picture, but I've concentrated on the colour, I've concentrated on the shape, and actually I've drawn what I want to look at. So this will look nice, stuck up on my fridge in the kitchen, I think. I'm just going to rub these pencil lines out now, so those shapes stand up a little bit more for themselves. And then I'm finished. I'd love to see your pictures or your paintings or your collages. It'd be really nice to see some of those on Class Dojo. And what I can also do is put a couple up for everybody else to look at. So if you are really proud of yours and you want to share it with other people, then you can let me know. And I can post it on Class Dojo for everyone to see, which would be really nice to celebrate our artwork. There we go. Now I'm finished.